Hello, crew. This is a special video I'm making for you of our trip to the Tetons and a little extra at the end. So, as you may or may not know, a week ago yesterday, that would have been, I don't know, the second to the last Monday in November, I got a text from Scott, and he said that he and Nicole were going to the Tetons and asked if Sarah and I would like to join them. So on Wednesday afternoon, we were looking at the weather, and we were concerned that Dead Man's Pass, just to the east of us here in Pendleton, was going to be snowed in on Thursday or Friday. So we left Wednesday, and as we're driving over, we actually were passing a car as we're coming into Ontario, and I glanced over at the driver, and the guy driving it looked like Rick Valentine, and I thought, oh my gosh, we're going to be in Boise overnight, and I didn't reach out to Rick. So I called Rick, or actually I had Sarah message Rick on Facebook, and he immediately got back, and we agreed to have breakfast the next morning because they weren't available for dinner. And so we had, as you know, we had a great breakfast with Rick and his wife. It was super fun. And then headed out and drove the rest of the way to the Tetons, where we met Scott and Nicole, who arrived at about 4 o'clock at the airport, and they rented a Jeep. Gladiator pickup truck. And so Scott immediately said, meet us at the gas station nearby Dornan's, which you saw in the picture or the little video clip I sent. And we took off and started looking for wildlife. And Scott is a connoisseur of
that's a dude that's been through some winters.
And so he knows how to find wildlife. He does the research, and he talks to people, and he's on forums, and he's extremely motivated, which was awesome. So we drove around that evening, found some wildlife, didn't get dinner until late, like 8 o'clock. I mean, Sarah and I usually eat at 5, and then we're at our place by 9:45, went to bed, got up, and we're out before dawn the next morning, at which point we saw moose, we just saw a lot of different wildlife, which was awesome. And as you see, I'm talking over a lot of the wildlife we saw. It was just a really fun trip, and it was super fun hanging out with Scott and Nicole, and just enjoying their company. They're great people. And unfortunately, the end of the first day, so we woke up on Friday, and I had a little pain in my heel, and you get little bits of pain all the time, and you're never quite sure, but of course I always am worried about it being gout. Well, it turned out that I had a major gout attack, but it kind of developed over the day on Friday, and at the end of the day we went for like a 3-mile hike, and the last mile, or a little less than a mile, it really started hurting. And I thought it was plantar fasciitis at first, because it was in the heel, right? But then that night I went to bed, and I woke up the next morning, and it was like, it felt like gout. It's that sharp pain, like somebody stabbing me in the ankle after just lying in bed all night. It had gotten much worse. So the next day we didn't do much walking, but we still found, as you can see here, these massive herds of elk and bison. We found also, earlier you saw the moose. I think most of this video was actually taken that Saturday, which was our last full day there. So we still, actually, luckily, most of the stuff we were doing was driving. It just meant we couldn't go on any hikes. And I was still able to get out of the car and kind of wander around enough I still ended up walking about 2.5 miles, actually, according to my phone on Saturday, despite the fact my foot was killing me. And so we got back again late to our place on Saturday night, and Sarah and I had decided we needed to get home on Sunday to have dinner with Deb, my sister-in-law. Like, you have a sister-in-law named Deb. Shocking coincidence. Anyway, we got home that night, and I was processing pictures and everything, and I iced my heel again, and I was taking ibuprofen by then. And actually, I have coltracine, which my doctor had given me in case I had a gout attack, and so I had taken it Saturday morning when I thought I was pretty convinced that it was in fact gout. But despite that, I woke up at 10 to 6 on Sunday morning, and it was so painful that I couldn't sleep, and I tried to get up, and I couldn't put any weight on it at all, and I seriously was wondering if I was going to make it to the car without crutches. But I managed to go downstairs and get some ice, and I sat there with ice on it while Sarah packed everything up.
Buffalo are way over there.
I started to carry some stuff out to the car because it felt a little better after I iced it, and then I just had to not do that. So I ended up just getting to the car and getting in the car, and Sarah basically had to do everything. And so she started driving. We left about 6:30, and I had some ice, and so I iced it in the car, and it felt better the whole time, icing it in the car. And so a couple hours after Sarah drove, a couple hours, and then I felt good enough to drive, and I drove the rest of the way home. And we ended up getting home at around 3 o'clock, and while we were driving, Sarah read up, and somebody had told me that heat was also really good for the gout. So putting your foot in a hot tub, he said. Somebody was a doctor, so I thought, oh well, I'll try that. So we got home, and I did ice, hot water, ice, and I did it a couple times. And by that evening, it was like so much better. And then the following morning, that would be yesterday, Monday, I woke up, and boy, it just felt so much better. And I was taking Aleve as well, which Deb, we had dinner with Deb, and she recommended Aleve. And so I woke up the next morning, and I felt actually, I was still a little gimpy, but it was like nothing. It was like just a kind of an inconvenience. But I also thought I'll just rest it. But it was -4C, as you'll see in a moment here. And I thought, oh, this is the perfect morning for a cold soak. So I got up, and I got my camera ready, and I got my microphone because the audio doesn't work. And as it turned out, the audio still didn't work. And not only that, the camera turned off at weird times, so I didn't have the full video. So I started to make a video for you about me going down for this cold soak, and nothing worked. But I did go down, and I got in 6 minutes. The water temperature was 4C, so 30. It was basically 39.2 or something like that. And it was really, really lovely. And my foot hurt just enough for me to kind of take it easy, but not that bad. The funny thing is, I was kind of discombobulated. It was kind of a spur of the moment thing, so I was getting everything ready to go. And I went down there, and I got everything set up, and I got in the river, and I was talking to you the whole time because I thought the camera was running, but it wasn't. And then when I got out of the river, it was so beautiful with the steam coming up off the river. I realized I hadn't gotten a towel. So I basically just had to put my coat on over my cold, wet body and come home. But it was a great start to the soak season. And I really should be down today as well, but I actually have to go get some blood work done so I can start taking the medication for gout. And hopefully taking the medication for gout will remove the risk for this. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.